Hello everybody, this is Full Time Devils. My name is Stephen Howson. This is the huge defence debate. We have done the forwards, we have done the midfield, and there's only one thing left for us to talk about, isn't there? That is the defence. And you might think that this is a pretty straightforward sort of conversation, but you're wrong. We don't know the tactics that we want to be playing. We think there's multiple options for that. We don't know the personnel that needs to be playing. There's options and there's question marks at left back, which I think you would all agree on. So we are going to get stuck into it. Joining me today, I've got Mr. John Shin joining us from New York.
What's going on?
I've got Ben Pearce joining us from his kitchen, I think. And we've got Mr. Adam McKola joining us as well. How's it going, lads?
All good, mate. All good.
All right, lots of energy in the room. Beautiful. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is the formation. So the formation is obviously going to lead to which personnel play there, because if you play three at the back, you're possibly not going to use fullback so much, are you? So, John, I'm going to come to you first. Formation, are you feeling four at the back? Are you feeling three at the back? What are you feeling?
At the start of the season, I was sort of hoping that, and this is going to sort of might divert a little bit, but Manchester United Jose Mourinho in particular wanted another winger. We know that's clear. We know that's evident. I think that was more so the bigger key in terms of what he was going to operate. I think without that direct winger that Jose Mourinho was looking for, I think we're going to resort to a back four this season. And I only say that because I think we sort of lacked the flexibility in terms of going forward via the flanks. And, we do have a lot of options on the width, but at the same time, most of those options are more so geared towards central. They sort of favor the central option. They're inverted wingers that like to cut back and they sort of drift through the channels through the middle. And I think somebody like Pearce, whose name's been countlessly been mentioned many times this season, would have provided a little bit more flavor in terms of going forward. He would have definitely been the option to go with the power and the pace down that left-hand side with his crosses.
Are we talking defence here, or are we talking forwards? What are you doing?
You're right. I'm sorry. But my point is that because we are lacking that winger, we are going to be resorting to a back four in terms of a defence. I'm sure Jose Mourinho is not going to want to opt for three central defenders and wing backs. It's a bit different, and I think he's going to resort with that back four.
Ben, I'm going to throw Luke Shaw at you after what John's just said and say he has got the capability to be an excellent left-sided wing-back if he can recapture the form that we saw prior to his leg break. Do you think he can do it? Do you think Jose's got the belief in him that he could do it?
I don't want wing backs, though. I've mentioned this before. I want four at the back. I don't like the three and then the two out wide are playing wing backs and this whole fancy new formation thing that people are going with, the Pep Guardiola way, the whatever you want to call it, the Conte way.
How's it Pep Guardiola?
I'm just throwing managers out there who play three at the back at the end of the day. I just don't like it. I like the solid four. I like the old-fashioned four at the back. You've got the right back who, well, with us, it's not the case right now, but in past times, the right back's a little bit slower than the speedy left back, and then you've got the two central defenders, you've got a thug, and you've got someone who can play it neat and tidy out the back. That's what I want to see, and I think what we've got at the moment are four players who will line up week in, week out if there aren't any injuries. When Shaw comes back, I want to see him cement a place. We've got Tony V, who just, season after season, the wiser and wiser he gets, the more and more he improves. I think there's still a question mark over his defensive capabilities, but he's a winger, so there's always going to be. But he does his job, and there's a few tackles he puts in now and then. I remember the Liverpool game last season. He came out of nowhere with that tackle in the box, and it was like, wait a second, what happened to Antonio Valencia? It was a quality tackle. And then you've got Eric Bailly, who's looking great. You've got Phil Jones at the moment, who's really cementing his place. The two positions there, Jones and Shaw. It's all about whether those two can stay fit, whether we're going to have a solid back four for the season or not. And that's personally what I want to see. I think Mourinho did say, John, you're right. Mourinho said recently in a press conference that he was looking for that left-sided winger who could play a wing-back role so that he could play three at the back. I don't know if he said that last week or the week before. So I think intentionally during pre-season he was looking at the 3-5-2. But now I think because he didn't get that winger, and I think he's going to stick with the four at the back, and I'm excited for it. I think we've looked solid so far. We haven't conceded, which is good, and we've been commanding when we have had players running at us, and we have had situations where the defence have had to pull their finger out. So all in all, I'm liking the four at the back, and I want to keep it.
All right, so we've got Ben that doesn't like it. We've got John that seems like he's a little bit in favour for it. Mac, where do you sit? Would you like to see us with three at the back? I personally like that sort of flexibility, me, that we can switch up the formations.
I think 90% of the time I'd like to see the four at the back, but I know that football isn't always ideal. You can't always play the formations that you want to play. If we could, we would be playing 4-4-2 every single week, and 4-4-2 died a long time ago. So I think it's not. I don't think the back five is a bad thing, especially when you look at our lack of depth at left-sided winger. When you think about, it looks like Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford are going to be the only two used there at this moment in time. And if you could imagine, I know it's a horrible thought, but given the last couple of years that we've had, if you could imagine an injury to Martial or Rashford or both, or to Lukaku, and then one of them have to go into the middle and number 9, then the back 3/back 5 becomes useful for us, because we haven't got anyone that can play on that left attacking midfield position. I hate calling it a left wing position, because, like I said, 4-4-2 is dead, and actual wingers that go backwards and forwards consistently don't really exist
call Martial
anymore.
and Rashford left forwards, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
You
the
wouldn't call
left
them
inverted wingers, forwards, I don't know, but I think those two can cover that left wing side. I know we're not talking about that, but I think if we were to get an injury there, or a few injuries, then we may need to go to that because of the lack of depth in attack. I think our squad's quality, but that is the one area. And Jose said, I was looking for a left wing back. I think that's bullshit, to be honest. I think that he's playing games a little bit there. I think he's obviously was looking for Ivan Perisic. Look, if you sign Ivan Perisic, he could possibly play there, but he's used to playing in a front three. So I think it's a little bit of kidology there. He's maybe saw Martial's performances, his confidence, and his thought, if we say we're still after a left winger and that's what I wanted and we never got it and we're going into the season without it, then people may look at that position and point it out as a weakness of Manchester United. Where if he says, oh, I was looking for a left wing back, and we never play a back 5, then it doesn't really affect things or affect the confidence of our players enough. But I think, yeah, back 4 ideally for me. Barring injuries, we should play a back 4, but tactically we can use the back 5. We did it against Chelsea last year and it worked very well.
Let's look at the current squad then. According to ManUnited.com, this is the list of all our first-team defenders. We've got Lindelof, Bailly Jones, Rojo, Blind, Shaw, Valencia, Darmian, Tuanzebe, and if you want to go a little bit further than that as well, you've also got Young, Fosu-Mensah, Borthwick Jackson, and Demi Mitchell. If you have to pick all of these, give us your back 4, or back 5, or 3, or whatever you want to give us, with the personnel that we've got and your first choice changes. I'll start with you, Adam.
Valencia at right back, Luke Shaw at left back, Bailly and Jones at centre half. I was tempted to go with Rojo, but I stuck with Bailly and Jones.
Why?
Valencia, I think, picks himself at right back. I think last season he was arguably the best right back in the Premier League. Picks himself there at right back. And you're looking at left back. I think initially, obviously Luke Shaw played for the under-23s against Swansea, so he's got a run out under his belt. But I think it'll be a while until he's fully first team fit. So I think in the meantime it will probably be Darmian or Blind or something like that. But I think in the long term, I want to see Luke Shaw reclaim his left back spot. If we can get Luke Shaw reclaiming that spot, I mean, we look at our team and we see these younger players, and we see Lukaku, who could be our number 9 for the next 5 years. We see Pogba, who could be dominating the midfield for the same amount of time. Martial, Rashford, etc. Luke Shaw is well up there with those guys in terms of the potential he has in the position he plays in. He could be one of the best in the world if he gets back to the level he was at. That's obviously going to be difficult with the setbacks that he has had, but he seems to have proven something to Jose Mourinho, even without playing, which is positive, that he's been able to show him something else in training and in his recovery whilst coming back from injury. And once we get him back on the pitch, I think hopefully we see a different side to Luke Shaw and something that Jose Mourinho likes, because if he does, we've got a very, very good left back on our hands. And then at centre half, Eric Bailly has to be first choice. I don't need to mention why I'm picking Eric Bailly. I think he's the most reliable centre half we have. And then I think if Phil Jones stays fit, I think Victor Lindelof will find it hard to nail down a spot in the side. I think Chris Smalling will too, because of the fact that Phil Jones' problems have been injuries. I know once or twice he's made mistakes and he's looked like an idiot, and he had that awful run with the under-23s. But when he plays in the first team and he plays regularly, Phil Jones is quality. Phil Jones, one of the best centre-halves in our team. And I feel like maybe, I know we've had this situation with him quite a lot, but it feels like maybe Jose Mourinho is the manager that will get the best out of Phil Jones if he doesn't get injured. If Phil Jones stays fit this season, I know there's a lot of ifs and buts in there, but I think he will be our main man alongside Eric Bailly. and I would be happy with that. At the moment, I trust Phil Jones more than Victor Lindelof, and I trust him more than Chris Smalling. But you got to give Lindelof time, and Smalling has played well before, but, you know.
John, what's your back three, back four, back five?
I went for a back four, and I had a lot of time thinking about whether or not I'd go for Jones or Rojo. Same situation with Adam. I go Valencia right back, Eric Bailly, that's right side of central half, Luke Shaw on the left, and it was a battle between Jones and Rojo for that other central defensive position. But now that I hear Adam's point, I think he's spot on in terms of what we'd select Jones. He's quality when he's fit, and this situation, this scenario that we're drawing is, we're picking this back four should they stay fit. So I'd go Jones. But in the case that he's not fit, because that's what he's prone to, he's very injury prone, I wouldn't mind going for Rojo. Somebody like Rojo alongside Bailly. People might say that's too much of an aggressive central defensive lineup. Let's say they get played out. Let's say they go against players who's got that dribble, who likes to go very direct. That might be a liability at times. But I think with the quality that we have in what's ahead of them, like Nemanja Matic, who is so composed, who is so cool on the ball, off the ball, I think we can also go for Rojo. I don't think he'll be a bad shout.
All right, Ben, everyone's sort of going with the same team here. What do you reckon? What's your... Yeah. I don't know, you're going for a back four, so what's your back four?
I'm not going to disagree with the boys. Spot on there, Valencia, Bay, Jones and Shaw. And just a few points, we go on about how Lukaku with his goals can win us the league. I think if we can get a solid back two and Jones and Bay are on their game, then they could win us the league as well. We've seen a number of times over the first couple of games where they've sniffed out opportunities. They've got an important flick on the ball. They've been solid. They've not made mistakes. They've stayed tight to their men. They could be as important for us as a central defensive pairing as our strike force and our midfield could be. And I agree with what you say, Howson, on the 3-5-2 sort of giving you freedom. But looking at some average positions the other day, I think I saw something Statman Dave done, and looking at the first two games, Matic being in that midfield provides three sort of back at all times when United are going into attack. The most interesting thing that I saw in the positioning is that you obviously got Jones and Bay. You've got Matic just in front of the halfway line. And then you've got Valencia and Blind both over the halfway line, like they're playing wing back roles.
No, they wasn't over the halfway line.
Were they just behind? It was near, weren't they, on the halfway line? So
that's not far enough forward for fullbacks, though.
Well, you say that, but then when the amount United attacked against Swansea and the amount that they were influenced, Mkhitaryan and Rashford were further inside. So it makes you think that there is a lot of freedom down the wings for those two to get forward even more.
Which they're not getting into. That was the issue, is that they wasn't over the halfway line.
We're 2 games
because they wasn't getting crosses in.
Yeah, well, you're right, but what I'm trying to say is we're 2 games in, so there's the improvement for us there straight away. We can play 4 at the back, but that formation can easily switch when we're going into attack. And if Valencia and Blind or Valencia and Shaw can get forward more, and Rashford and Mkhitaryan and Mata are still coming very much inside to support Lukaku, there's space there for our fullbacks to get further forward and still enough defensive cover with Bay, Jones and Matic there as a 3 to cover any counter-attacks.
But that's the issue of when you do play a back 4, the 2 wide players in the back line, the fullbacks in that back line, it's not really a back 3 when Matic drops in, because Matic doesn't drop in, and you don't need him to drop in for that. I'm talking about the 3-5-2 being effective when you get the ball, because you mentioned it's a 3-5-2 going forward. It's not, because you've still only got 1 striker. You're playing 2 wide players that are coming centrally, but they're still not a striker. When you play a proper 3-5-2, you've got a 3-man midfield, and then you've got 2 strikers up front. That's the key of a 3-5-2 for me, and that's the 2 things that I want to see prioritised in the team from United. 2 people up front to get the best out of Lukaku, 3 people in midfield to get the best out of Pogba, because when we're on the ball, those are our most effective players. Now, the consequence of playing a 3-man midfield is that Matic is going to play anyway, so that's happy days. You bring in Ander Herrera, and that's possibly the strongest midfield 3 in the league, and you're going to get loads of space around Lukaku. We've seen the goals that he's managed to create by his movement, leaving space and gaps for other people. The reason we've scored 4 in these games is, yes, he's hit the back of the net, but he's also caused defenders a headache with his movement all across that front line and coming deep. And if you get someone alongside him, and I know it's mouth-watering at the prospect, but think about if we had Griezmann alongside him. Now, you want to play Griezmann and Lukaku centrally, and I'm sure that Manchester United was trialling the 3-5-2.
But then what happens to Martial? What happens to Rashford? You can't play these guys if you constantly play a 3-5-2. Unless you're playing them just behind Lukaku.
They can both play in a 2. There's options for them to play.
Where are they going to play in a 2 though if you're playing Lukaku and then we bring Griezmann in next year? Where they play? They don't play. And I think as well...
They're not better, are they? You have to go with what the best 11 is.
with a 4-3-3, you have Matic giving that protection, but also you get Pogba in his best position of a left central midfield, which you can. I know you can in the 5-3-2 as well. But when you've got those wing backs and teams overload and they get compact in defence, you see at the weekend, you see Daley Blind, you see Antonio Valencia. I know Jermaine Genius was nitpicking a little bit when he picked out on it, but it was a good point in the sense that fullback getting forward enough. So when you haven't got naturally, I know you mentioned Luke Shaw at left wing back and how you think he can do well, and he probably can. But I think it's kind of, it's allowing us to play more in defence, and it's not allowing us to play our best attacking players. I think Mickey flourished in that role behind Lukaku when he played in that 3-5-2. But you can still get that from Mickey when he plays out on the right. Yeah. And I think this new midfield three, where he's playing like Matic, Pogba, and one more attack-minded player like Mata against Sampdoria, he played Pereira. I think that has been, obviously Matic has been huge, but I think that has been one of the differences in terms of us scoring more goals, that we've not played Herrera, we've played someone more attacking-minded. I think the 4-3-3 allows us to play our best attacking players. I think the 5-3-2 doesn't really...
This season we haven't played 4-3-3 in the league. We've played 4-2-3-1.
But you can sort of still move players around.
And Pogba has been restricted in that.
I think it's been easy. It's been easier for the players to relax a little bit more, maybe go out of position a little bit more. You'll find when we play better sides, Matic isn't going to, roam forward as much as he has been doing. So I think it's against these Swans, it's against these West Hams where, yes, maybe the players will try things that they don't normally.
Okay, I don't want to turn this into the midfield debate. We've already had the midfield debate. I just want to say,
because if you play a back five more often than not, like I say, we should only use it tactically, like against Chelsea at home when we did it last season, and we got a great result. But playing it every single week means we're not playing our best attacking players, in my opinion.
Okay, this is the defence debate. I'm going to finish it on this. When you play the formation that we played at the moment, Pogba's average position is exactly the same as that of Matic, and it's too far back. You saw at the weekend when he was allowed to move forward, and his average position then got dragged up because he was playing on the right wing. His influence in the game was obvious. And he's too far back at the moment. But I don't want to get it stuck into a midfield debate. Right, I'm going to come to some of the comments from you guys. We asked a question out on Twitter. Not really expecting a million comments, but obviously it sparked off a huge debate because there's literally hundreds of replies to what we thought, everybody thought it should be. Unsurprisingly, the first one here is going with Valencia, Bay, Jones and Shaw. I think there's a lot of people really going for that. And I think it's also telling that Jose Mourinho has basically played Phil Jones anytime he's been fit, which is also bizarre. As Adam mentioned earlier, I think it was Adam anyway, but he said in the 23s last season, he looked the worst of the centre-halves that we was playing. He was getting schooled by the likes of Roshan Williams. But when he's been in the first team recently, he looks fantastic. No name on this one, but we forget that when Jones is 100% fit, he's bloody brilliant. I'd say a fully fit Jones plays alongside Bailly. Tony Valencia right back, Shaw left back, another person going for that. That seems to be everybody's favourite one. The problem with Jones is that he doesn't stay fit though, isn't it? I mean, this is asking a hell of a lot. We got someone here going a little bit different. They're saying Valencia, Bailly, Rojo and Shaw, and then Lindelof after some time. I think Lindelof's got his work cut out to get back in the mix. Someone's done it with just images. Can we just zoom in on that one?
Creativity.
And it's Valencia, Bay, Jones and Shaw, unsurprisingly, and they've got all day long. Scott has gone with a back three, Rojo, Jones and Bay. Now that I do like the sound of, because as John mentioned before, it might be a little bit aggressive. It might be too much hot sauce with Rojo and Bay, but with Jones in the middle, I think it actually calms it down a little bit. Now I don't think Jones is your Frank Pearce, just really telling everyone what to do, but he actually does marshal a line from the back. And he's got Valencia and Shaw, or Damian, who's not even been mentioned, as wing-backs. Valencia, Bay, Rojo and Damian has just been suggested by the United Way on Twitter. Valencia, Bay, Jones and Shaw, too certain, too questionable. And that's Jones and Shaw based on fitness from Dan. So there you go, that's what everybody on Twitter is saying as well. Looks like we've got a bit of a consensus and it should be a back four by all accounts. Right, so rumours. We have been linked with a lot of defenders now. Jose said that we was looking at one more player. Everyone was basically taking this as a left-sided forward player, but we've been linked with a right back. We've been linked with left backs, quite a lot of them. Who do you think out of these lot do you think should be coming in? Who would you like to see come in? All that sort of stuff. So we've had Rose, we've had Aurea, Sergio Roberto, Ryan Sessegnon this week as well. Adam, any of these that you fancy coming in? And can you see any of these coming in and being an instant starter?
I think Serge Aurier is probably on his way to Spurs now. And he would have been an all right signing at right back, but he wouldn't have been a starter this season. So then you look at that and you think...
Mental, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
he's absolutely mental.
Jose likes mental cases, and I don't mind them either if you've got one or two of them. And in your defence, that's where you need him. As long as he's not beating up any police officers when he's not playing, then we're all right.
Think of what you could have as a back four. You could have Rojo and Baye and Valencia and Aurier potentially if you move him over to the left-hand side. That's a bit crazy, though, isn't it? That's a little bit crazy. That's like Wimbledon 1988.
Not even Diego Costa would want to with them, right? You wouldn't. I'm not. I don't really. I haven't got any defenders I really want. I can mention loads of unrealistic ones, but what I'm going to do is, if you remember in the 3 in 3 out debate, I said one of my players in was Andreas Pereira. Jose Mourinho made 3 signings this summer, and he said in his press conference last week, Andreas Pereira will be like my 4th signing. So I feel vindicated in my 3 in with Andreas Pereira being one of those. And so I'm going to say my defender to come in is Axel Tuanzebe. Give him a chance, innit? Why sign another centre half when we've got Smalling, Jones, Rojo, Bailey, Blind, and we've got Axel at the club coming through? Like, what's the point in buying another centre half? I don't think there is. I think in Bailey, Jones, Rojo, Smalling, and Lindelof will get a decent centre half partnership, and the rest can battle on for their backups. But I think you've got to give Tuanzebe his progress. It may be a case that this season he gets a few minutes in the cups, next season he goes out on loan, and then he comes back after that. But I think Axel should be one that should be promoted and given chance, and we shouldn't be looking to make many defensive signings.
Shout out to Axel for this week, actually. That performance, defensive performance against Swansea, at times, absolutely breathtaking. You're almost giggling watching how good he is when opposition forwards are running at him. They've got the ball, they're ahead of him, and he's just like, yeah, cool, check this out. No expression on his face, complete stone, dead-eyed killer. Axel Tuanzebe is definitely one for the future. I do agree. I think he needs a loan.
That's why Sanchez didn't want to come back to the Premiership this season. Axel put him on the wings.
John, any of those that you fancy? Any others that you've heard?
I actually wrote down Serge Aurier, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not exactly sure which right backs, if we have any in the market. And I want to emphasize searching for a right back in the market because of a few things. First, obviously, Antonio Valencia has got it spot on. He's got that right back position locked in. Now, with that being said, if you look at sort of the more realistic options, a realistic situation rather, Antonio Valencia is turning 32, and I'm not saying that he's only got years left. Who knows? He is a machine and he is a monster on that right hand side. But with that being said, I think we perhaps maybe signing another right back and offloading potentially somebody that's sort of like dead weight in our defensive area right now wouldn't be a bad option in terms of adding competition. And I'm not saying that Antonio Valencia needs to get pushed out. Hell no. He's been our most consistent player in the past season or two, and we have to give him massive shout-outs. But at the end of the day, it's a competition. We need to make sure that every single player out there is having some sort of competition. And right now, I don't think Darmian's providing any competition. I don't think Daley Blind. I don't think whoever else is available to play on that right-hand side, even maybe Young at times. I don't see any real potential competition for Antonio Valencia. So perhaps signing another a right back or right-sided fullback, whatever you want to call this. Perhaps signing another right back might not be a bad option in terms of not only preparing for the future, but also providing Antonio Valencia with some healthy competition.
Fosu Mensah just took you off his Christmas card list. Ben,
yeah.
Anyone that you're feeling?
Do you see Fosu Mensah as a right back, though? I don't know.
I also have that in my notes. I wrote Timothy Fosu Mensah, but I don't want to see him in it.
You want to see it involved.
Yeah. I don't see him as a right side. I don't see him as a right back. If anything, I see him more central or a midfielder.
Yeah, no, spot on. I think Aurier, you're right on him, John. I think the only reason why I'd like to see Aurier come in is because he's the only one similar to Tony in the market, and he's got some defensive capabilities. But you're right, he's a nutter. Other than that, he wouldn't come straight into the first team right now. I think, Adam hit on it, he's right. I think there's a few young players that I'd like to give a chance to Tuanzebe. And also, Mourinho last season used Eric Bailly as a backup right back at some time. So maybe he feels like he's got cover there. With Fosu Mensah out on loan, and next season, if he wants another cover, he might still look at him as a right back, although we don't see it. Lindelof, did you say Lindelof was a cover for left back or right back as well? He made that comment in a press conference recently. I think it was it right back as well. So we have got options there for cover. It's a contingency plan on what's going to happen after Tony V. But then again, he's a machine, so we don't know how long he's got left. I've always liked the look of Roshan Williams, but he's never really been given. He hasn't been given an opportunity in the first team yet, has he?
Roshan struggles, I think, with what a lot of people who are unbelievable sprinters struggle with, and that's just continual muscle injuries. As a footballer, he's a great footballer, but yeah, he missed a lot of last season because of injuries, muscle injuries, which he just seems to. He broke Darren Campbell's the Great Britain sprinters record at under 16 last year.
For a centre back, it's ridiculous.
He can move.
It is good. I would love to see him given an opportunity. You say about injuries, again, he's still a young lad, so we've got to see that. Tuanzebe, again, I just want to see him play games this season. I want to see him given chance after chance after chance, whether that's at right back to start off his career or at centre back. He even played defensive midfield, didn't he? I just want to see him given a chance to sort of express himself and to get some minutes under the belt.
What sort of impact do you think Axel Tuanzebe's performance against Sanchez did to his ranking in Jose Mourinho's head last year?
I think Jose already rated him.
Yeah, Jose said against Wigan.
Do you think even Jose thought that he was going to do that good a job on that good a player?
Probably nah. No, Jose will probably thought, I can trust this guy. But I still think Jose would have thought, I still need to buy some defenders. We brought Lindelof, for God's sake. If it really impressed him that much, he would have kept Tuanzebe in the first team. But
that's right.
No, I don't know. I think he likes him. He's name-checked him loads of times, hasn't he? Whenever he mentions young players, he says Tuanzebe. And I remember in that Wigan game, when Jose's first game, I think it was his first game for the club. Yeah, definitely his first game in England. But against Wigan, we won 2-0. Tuanzebe played amazing. Jose came on off. When the game finished, he ran up to him and hugged him, gave him a big high five. And ever since then, he's always spoken positively about him. So I feel like he has a little thing for Tuanzebe.
Right, give us a wild card then. I'm going straight back to you on this one, Ben. Give us a wild card. Someone who's not been linked, someone who's not been mentioned, someone just completely out of nowhere that you go, do you know what? If United had him in the defence, spot on.
God, do you know what? I like Van Dijk. I do like Virgil van Dijk. I really like him. I hope Liverpool don't sign him. I don't want Liverpool, but then again, I hope no one signs him. I want him just to stay at Southampton for now, because that'll be fine. I like Van Dijk. I think he's calm, composed. He done well last season. He's big, he's physical, he's strong. I think all round he's a very, very good defender. Obviously, he's done it at Southampton and Celtic, and there'll be question marks of whether he can do it at the top level. But he's definitely a player who's ready for that move. And I wouldn't be surprised to see one of the Cities, Chelsea or Liverpool sign him up, as much as I don't want to see it. So. Yeah, I'm going to go just a random name throw out there. I'm going to throw Van Dijk out there. I like him. I'm not saying that I want to see him signed tomorrow because I'm happy with our defensive options, but I like him.
If he went to City, that'd be an actual nightmare. Yeah, that's more frightening than Sanchez going City in a million different ways. Yeah. John, wild card.
I went for something. For something crazy. I went for somebody like Varane or Umtiti, and the reason why I would like somebody like that is because you
play a lot of FIFA.
I actually don't anymore. I lost my PS4. But anyways,
you lost your PS4.
Yeah, lost.
How'd you lose it? It's not a set of car keys, John.
You're right. Anyways, the point is the reasoning as to why I wanted to go for another central defender is I think there's still enough space for a decent competition. And now, unfortunately, that might mean that we might have to offload one of the central defenders. We might have to, let's say, offload Chris Smalling or Phil Jones or whoever else. But I wouldn't mind seeing somebody like Varane, who's got a very good combination of not only precision on his tackle, he's decent on the ball. Umtiti's a little bit better on the ball, but I think somebody like Varane, who's very, very balanced in terms of his central defending, would be fantastic, especially when we're playing a back three alongside maybe somebody like Lindelof or Bailly or Jones and Bailly, whatever it is, that might add some quality central defensive options.
Okay. Adam, what's your wild card?
It's a wild card. It's not realistic. I know it's a wild card. Carvajal. Meant in it. That's all I could think of. I like Carvajal. I think he'd be a great replacement for Antonio Valencia. He's mint. Yeah, he's a quality.
I would have said Jan Vertonghen is who I would have gone for.
His his Alderweireld good as well.
Yeah, either of them. I don't think you can split them. I think they're a very good pair of them. But I think I'd have just edged it for Jan Vertonghen, I think. Right, I've got to choose a winner and a neutral, Howson in the neutral corner. And I think the most prudent one out of all those, apart from my own. I don't think I can pick my own. I don't think that's fair, but I obviously have the best opinion on this channel. I'm going to say Ben with Van Dijk. I think Van Dijk is probably, if not the, certainly one of the top 2 or 3 centre-halves in the league, and I think he could make a tangible difference to Manchester United. Certainly more reliable.
A player that's soon to be playing in Liverpool red, possibly, or Man City blue, has won the debate. And
he's an absolutely fantastic defender, and whoever he plays for doesn't cloud my judgment, Adam. If we came in...
upset McKola is. Just tell him that Martial's going to start the next game and he'll perk up.
He's devoed. Right, so there we have it. I think Van Dijk would definitely make a tangible difference to United's defence. Right, thank you guys for joining us. This has been the huge defence debate. I think there's a lot more to talk about on this. I think we're going to see it evolve over the course of the season. I'm sure we're going to see injuries to Phil Jones. I'm sure we're going to see more injuries to Luke Shaw, because that is the way the cookie crumbles, isn't it? Thank you guys for joining us. Get your comments in below. Who do you think should be the back 4 or back 3 or back 5? Who's your wild card? And who's the one that you want to be looking out for? Axel Tuanzebe. Spell it correct. See you in a bit.